Hi, I'm Dr. K, and in this video, I'm going to answer some common questions about losing weight permanently for women over 40. Now, you may or may not know that for the last 14 years at my clinic in London and now via Zoom, I've helped hundreds of women over 40 to lose weight and keep it off by changing their relationship with food. And in this video, I'll be talking about what to do if your spouse keeps buying snacks that you can't resist, how to build up willpower, what to do if you're trying to lose weight and your weight is up on a particular day. I'll also talk about should you eat lots of meals a day rather than the standard 3, and what to do at a social occasion with drinks and canapes when you're trying to lose weight. And the format of this video is that the topics are going to be phrased as quiz questions. So let's get straight into it. Question 1. You're following Dr. K's weight loss plan, you step on the scales and your weight is up today. What is the best course of action? And there are 4 options here. A. Throw the scales out the nearest window. B. Give up, eat all the food, and hopefully get back on track tomorrow. C. Resolve to eat better, as in very little today. Or D. Ignore it and keep to the same plan. So if you're weighing yourself every day, this is going to be a very common occurrence where you step on the scales and your weight's up, because weight tends to fluctuate day to day, even if you're doing all the things right. So this comes back to what I say about weighing yourself every day, which I think is a good idea. But part of weighing yourself every day means developing the skill to weigh yourself every day, which sounds a bit strange because all it is just stepping on the scales. But it's about managing the emotional roller coaster that often goes along with stepping on the scales. As I said, your weight will fluctuate day to day, so you need to be able to step on the scales, see it's up, and still be able to function and not let it ruin your day. So throw the scales out the nearest window. That's what a lot of people want to do. What my clients tend to find is as you weigh yourself every day, over time, they get used to it. It doesn't bother them as much. They see the weight up. It doesn't ruin their day like it might have previously. And that's something you want to get good at, because once you get to your goal weight, weighing yourself every day is a very, very effective early warning system. So B, give up, eat all the food, and hopefully get back on track tomorrow. So it's a very understandable response, but obviously not the right one. And resolve to eat better, as in very little today. This is another very common response, and it seems a little bit more healthy or a better response, but I don't think it is. If you've stepped on the scales and it's up, you don't want to go into diet mode and start starving yourself. All that's going to do is make you feel deprived, give you increased cravings for the foods that you're not allowing yourself, and then you're going to be more likely to binge. So D is the right answer. Ignore it, keep to the same plan. As you weigh yourself every day and get used to it, it's not going to bother you, and you're just going to be able to keep going with the same plan without it causing any issues. Question 2. Should you eat 6 meals a day? So there's obviously lots of different diet plans out there and offering different ways of eating, some where you skip certain meals and there's others where you eat regularly. So should you eat 6 meals a day? And the options are yes, no, or depends. And realistically, the answer should always be depends, because ultimately what you want to do is find the eating rhythm, finding when and how much to eat at certain times of the day in a way that suits you. What works for you may not work for your neighbor or may not work for your best friend, and that's fine. You've got to find the approach that's right for you. So I would always say keep an open mind. Having said that, in all the years of running my clinic, I've never seen a client end up with eating 6 meals a day. It doesn't really tend to work. If you're thinking I'm going to have 6 light, very, very light meals a day, what you'll tend to find over time is that those meals just gradually creep up in size, and then it starts to become a problem. Okay, question 3. You're going to a social event with drinks and canapes. What's the best plan? So this is that sort of social occasion where you're standing up, there's drinks being served, and there's little bite-sized morsel canapes being offered to you throughout the time you're there. So the question is, what is the best plan to deal with this sort of thing when you're trying to lose weight? And so the options are A, no plan required. This is natural weight loss, baby. Or B, just be careful. Or C, spend a minute thinking about where you're going to get food from that day. So let's go through each of these. So the no plan required, it sounds like a good idea, but ultimately I found with most of my clients, it's much better to think through when you're in these sort of unusual situations, just go in with a tentative plan. And I'll talk more about that because that's really the answer is option C. But option B, just be careful. I have heard so many clients offer that as their initial plan going into these sort of situations. And what does that even mean? What does just be careful mean? It's very difficult to pin down what that actually means. And often it'll mean reverting back to diety thinking, where you're trying to deprive yourself or you're trying not to make any mistakes. just be careful is too vague to be useful. So what I like to do is option C, spend a minute thinking about where you're going to get food from that day. And I phrase it in that specific way because where are you going to get food from? Are you going to get food from home? Are you going to eat before you go there? Are you going to pick up something on the way? Are you going to use the drinks, the canapes that are offered as your meal, which is risky in some ways because you don't know what's going to be offered. And the nature of canapes is that you could eat quite a few of them. They're very high calorie, but very small. And at the end of it, you don't really feel like you've had a meal. So it's not the best option. Or your other option could be that you're going to have something afterwards. But it's better to think through, and it will only take a minute, just think through where am I getting food from today? And then act accordingly, rather than turn up on the fly and just try and figure things out as you go, which usually doesn't work well. Okay, question 4. Imagine that you lack willpower but still want to lose weight permanently. How can you build up willpower? And there's 3 options here. Practice resisting chocolate by buying lots of chocolate bars and stacking them up around you at home and in the office. Option B, forget about willpower. And option C, think of how good it will be once you get to your goal to motivate you. So let's go through each of these. So the first option of practicing willpower by surrounding yourself with chocolate is not a very good idea at all. In fact, you want to do the opposite. You want to remove temptation from around you, because when you are surrounded by temptation, you end up continually having the conversation, do I want this? No. Can I have this? No. Should I have this? No. And eventually, maybe once out of every 10 times, you'll say, oh, okay, why not? Instead of allowing that conversation to happen, which is an unnecessary conversation and only occurring because the temptation is in front of you, you want to remove the temptation and stop that conversation from ever happening. You want to win the battle before it even begins. So A is a bad idea. And let's go to C. Think of how good it'll be once you get to your goal to motivate you. Now, this can be motivating for some people, but for the vast majority of my clients, it's not a good enough motivation. When a chocolate bar is sitting right in front of you and you're thinking about some future event when you're going to feel great, it's not enough to stop you from having that chocolate bar now. So I think the answer is B, forget about willpower. And the reason why I say forget about willpower is for long-term weight loss, willpower is not a reliable method. Yes, maybe in the short term, you'll be able to use willpower to resist temptation and to stick to your plans. But in the long term, if you're relying on willpower, well, willpower is fragile. Anything can happen that can just disrupt you. For instance, being stressed, being tired, being distracted, all of these things can interrupt willpower. So what you want to do is to create a plan where you are not reliant on willpower. And in this case, a huge part of that plan is avoiding surrounding yourself with temptation as much as possible. Okay, let's go to question 5. You don't want chocolate in the house because it is needless temptation, but your spouse does. What should you do? And this is a very, very common occurrence. So you've got 4 options. A, find a good divorce lawyer. B, stop them from bringing chocolate into the house using a private security firm if required. Give up and just eat chocolate on their terms. Or D, agree on a specific area where they keep their snacks. So it's pretty clear what the right answer is, but let's just talk this through. So this is a situation that comes up a lot. In an ideal world, your spouse would say, yes, you find chocolate too tempting, so I will swear off it and I will never eat chocolate again just for you. And of course, yes, in an ideal world, that would be perfect, but we don't live in an ideal world, and often that doesn't work. And another way of thinking of it is, why should your spouse suffer just because you don't want chocolate in the house? So I always think it's better, rather than proceeding to divorce or trying to stop them from bringing chocolate into the house, and also rather than you just giving in and eating whatever they bring into the house, it's always much better to agree on a specific area in the kitchen where their snacks are kept, and you want it not out in the open. So it shouldn't be on the kitchen counter, and it also shouldn't be somewhere where you are frequently likely to go. So for instance, if the coffee or the tea bags are in a particular cupboard and their snacks are there too, well, you may be often going there and you will be often seeing their snacks, so you haven't really achieved anything by putting it out of sight. You're always going to be coming across it. So you want it somewhere where you are unlikely to go, it's not in your eye line, it's not providing frequent temptation, and yet they have access to it whenever they need it. This is usually the best compromise. And another little hack that, if it is possible, can really help is that they buy snacks that they like but that you don't. So there may be something, for instance, they may like a particular type of chocolate that you don't, and if they can stock up on that, then even if you do come across it, you're not going to be as tempted as if it was a flavor that you particularly liked. Okay, and that's it for this particular quiz. I hope you enjoyed that. I've got another video here about whether you should skip lunch to lose weight or not. You can check that out here. And also do subscribe if you want to hear more about how to lose weight without dieting. I'll see you soon.